Hi, everybody. I'm Cliff. This is Life with MS, and today I have a urinary tract infection. So this is awesome, but I'm going to try to do this in one take because I just think it's really kind of fun and authentic, and I want to see if I can do it. I don't like a bunch of cups and cuts in my videos, so let's see what happens. So what's this video about? My MS journey reflecting on the last year. Now, I did try to shoot this video yesterday because I think this has some really interesting points and topics in it. But I had a massive flare up yesterday, which brought the UTI with it. It's been lasting about a week. Yesterday was really bad. I was in bed for 45 minutes, out of bed for 45 minutes, back in bed for 45 minutes, out of bed for 45 minutes. Couldn't really see, couldn't really feel things, had like these weird, like lightning pains going up and down my leg. It was just, I was a hot MS. Huh? Hot MS? See what I did there? Okay. But I wanted to talk to you guys because Um, when I reflected on what has happened in the last year, a large part of this last year has been dedicating myself to making this content. And it originally started off as like a vlog, but it quickly grew into a much bigger community. And I love you guys for that. Like, I really look forward to if every one of these videos, regardless of how much work goes into it. I am so inspired and so motivated because I can't wait to hear what you guys have to share. And if you've subscribed, liked, and shared my content over the last year or even any length of time, thank you very much. And if you've been commenting and you know who you are, we've had some awesome conversations. And thank you very much for that too. And a lot of people are learning from these conversations. So I think that's just awesome. I've had some great emails and some great comments where people have said, "Oh, yeah, I talked about this stuff that you guys talked about with my neurologist, and we figured something out and we got some answers." So thank you. That is freaking awesome. We're rocking it. Okay. So, getting back to reflecting on the last year with multiple sclerosis, I think a lot of people with any chronic condition can kind of understand this. Um, I'm going to touch on some things, and basically, I'm going to start off with saying what I've learned specifically in the last year is that I'm playing the law of averages with this disease. And that is to say that, like, if we're going up to bat and we're swinging, and I'm not very good at swinging because most of the time I can't see or feel my hands. If I swing enough with an educated guess on where I'm going to hit, I'm eventually going to hit that ball. I might not knock it out of the park, but I am definitely going to hit that ball. And that's a small win. And small wins, I have learned, especially in this last year, lead up to very big influential changes. Um, and that has been kind of an eye opener. So, what do I mean by this? Like, what are examples of that? Well, if you've been following my channel, you might remember that my son and I entered a NASA competition at the beginning of, well, it was about a year ago now, or 8 months ago now, or something. I don't remember. I can't remember anything. And the NASA competition was to develop a rescue system for the 2026 Artemis moon exploration mission. And when we initially set out, I thought there's just no way I can keep up with this timeline. My fatigue was so bad. There were so many issues, the cognitive issues. But then my son and I thought, well, why don't we just not focus on winning and just focus on doing? Like just him and I, just spending time together and working through things, having fun, and starting off with Legos, eventually 3D printing, making working models, having prototypes, getting it into CAD, making it all work. But we didn't look at the project at that scope. We looked at like, what are him and I doing in the moment where we're just having a good time doing what we're doing? And by not focusing on the pressure of winning the competition or changing the world, we focused on living in the now and having a good time together. And MS has taught me that I have to focus on the now and the positive moments when they come because they are, I don't want to say few and far between, but they have a big impact. So a bunch of small wins or positive moments end up to a big change. And we ended up winning part of the NASA competition. You know, there was over 300 teams, highly experienced engineering and computational mathematic teams and all that stuff. I had probably the only team, which was myself and my son, with a kid on it, and I think a total of 3,000 participants or something like that. And we never focused on the win. We focused on the solution, and the solution was mainly inspired by him and I dealing with my multiple sclerosis. We thought, astronauts have a lot of the same issues. They can't see out of their visors very well. They can't feel too well because they have a huge protective suit on. It's hard for them to move. They feel heavy, like MS fatigue, a lot of the same issues. And so we built our solution assuming that wearing a spacesuit in space or on a different planet or on a different moon with different gravitational pulls and different kinds of like obstacles and stuff is a lot like having MS. And our assumptions were right. And that's how we designed our thing. It was never about the winning after the first week or so. Like we got over that. It was about let's build something for MS and it might work for astronauts too. And I guess it will. So there you go. So and that's a medium-sized win, right? Spending the time with my son is a big win. Winning competition is definitely a medium-sized win, but having MS giving me the foresight to basically say the moment's not about solving the all the issues for the astronauts and the rest of the world. It's about spending time with my kid when I can do it and when I feel good enough to do it, and dedicating that energy and that time um, was really important. And ultimately, I think it kind of held my MS at bay because I was feeling a lot better. They often say that part of dealing with this disease is how you mentally approach it. And because of this channel and all the great people on it and things like the NASA competition, I had a lot to look forward to. And that's fantastic. And it kept me motivated and it kept me moving. And so I learned that, like, just because I'm down, I'm not out. I just have to restructure and I just have to keep swinging. And things are going to work, but I have to pick wisely what I'm swinging at. I can't just like go at anything because I don't have the energy or the time for that. But if I have the right people next to me in the process, like you and my family, we're going to make a difference. So thank you again. And that was one of the key learnings of the year is like, wow, surround yourself with good people and manage your time and your energy and pick the things that you love to do. And in some way, it may not be monetarily and it may not be through recognition. I will be successful because at the end of the day, I felt like I made a difference. And that's with this channel as well as with like the NASA project. So, I guess that's one way I found strength, is what I'm trying to say. I wrote a bunch of stuff down here. Okay. Um, so if you have not been following my channel, I was diagnosed in 2018. And I spent the first 2 years being a total jerk to everybody in the world, thinking I was going to take this thing on. I was going to show everybody wrong that MS can be beat. Well, the reality is that, like, many years later, I'm not beating MS, I'm living with MS. And that's why I call it a sub mantra of the channel, Life with MS, because it's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere, but we're finding compromise in the middle and we are existing together. And that has really kind of like matured over the last year. I'm okay with telling people, no, I'm not doing this. No, I'm not doing that. I don't like using the word can't. I don't believe in that word, though I certainly think there are situations where it's applicable. If someone told me to go walk a high wire without a safety net, I would say, yeah, I can't do that because I have MS and I wouldn't do it even if I didn't. But whatever. I try not to use can't, and I really emphasize that to my son. Like can't is just not something in the Curry. My last name's Curry. In the Curry vocabulary, like it's an excuse. I like to say we're not going to do it that way, but we're going to do it this way, and that gives us the fluidity we need when living with a chronic condition like multiple sclerosis. So that has been a huge shift. It happened over a number of years, but I think this last year has really secured that, like, winning those competitions and dedicating the time to making that stuff happen really helped me understand that, like, I'm not broken. I just have to kind of do things different and I have to be okay with telling people and setting expectations for them. And the people that understand those expectations, they're still around. The community here in North Carolina that has just been phenomenal with assisting my family and myself with my condition. I couldn't ask for more. And they're just really good people. And that's from my healthcare providers to my neighbors. My neighbors are fantastic. Of course, a lot of them are healthcare providers, but um, it has been key to like waking up and thinking in the morning, I can do something other than just deal with MS. But as like yesterday showed me, okay, I can't do anything other than just deal with MS. But in the past, that used to just really piss me off. And yesterday, I just, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm all right with just dealing with MS today. Like the rest of the community's got this. Like Gavin wanted to go play with friends. He has friends. Their parents know my situation and they know they're not going to send all the kids over here on those days that I'm not feeling well. And they check with me. So, um, that it's okay for someone to call and say, hey, can we send our kids over to play for a little while? Because is Gavin doing anything? And I say, no, I'm not feeling good. And they get it. And before I would never said no. I would have just gone with it, and it would have been a disaster. I would have just been like in horrible shape after the fact. So drawing boundaries has been a big thing. Reinforcing those boundaries has been a big thing. I can't believe it took me this long to get there, but it is really making a big difference. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like I'm pushing myself, but I'm not overextending myself. So the NASA thing might be considered taking on too much, but I didn't have the mentality of, oh, we got to win this thing. And because of that, the pressure was decently low and it worked out. Um, and the reason I bring this thing up of what I can do and what I shouldn't do is because yesterday we were watching Pirates of the Caribbean and my son and I, and there's this part where Jack Sparrow pushes what was his name? I wrote it down here. Will Turner out on the sail boom, and Will Turner's hanging from the sail boom, and Captain Jack says, "Well, you've got to come to the reality of that. There's what a man can do and what a man can't do, and don't like using can't." But with MS, it's like we've got to come to the realization that with MS, there's what we can do and maybe what we shouldn't do because it'll overextend us and it will stress us out. I shouldn't focus on winning a NASA competition. I should focus on having a good time with my son. And if we win in the meantime, that's great too. So you probably noticed that a lot of my videos in the last 2 or 3 months include my family because they've wanted to get in on it and I want them there. They're such a huge part of the story. And before it was just kind of all about me, but they're here every single day dealing with me and coming up with ideas and solutions to dealing with my MS. I thought, man, they are very much a part of the story. So you'll see them included in a lot of the videos moving forward. And actually, we have some really cool stuff coming up. I was going to shoot it this week, but with the UTI, the urinary tract infection, that wasn't happening. But things are getting better, so we'll see what happens. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't, because there's some fun stuff coming up. Okay. Um, let's see. Oh, and I think this is important. I wrote this down, and it's moving from accepting what I can do and what I shouldn't do to also having some proactive management of that and coming up with strategies and following those strategies and sticking to my guns on those strategies. And I got to tell you, I violated one of those recently. One day I woke up and I was just feeling like crap. But I had a relative in town. I think this was last Monday. I had a relative in town and they really wanted to go out to a really special breakfast place. Ah, and I should have said, I'm not going today. You guys can go without me. But my vision was gone. It was hot outside. I was just feeling crappy. And we got to the breakfast place downtown. And someone said something, it wasn't even that big of a something, and I just went off. And I just wouldn't let it go. And when I got home that night after I cooled off a little bit and I realized I was in that zone and I shouldn't have gone, I apologized to everybody and everybody was cool with it. They're like, "Oh, we get it. We understand." I feel like an ass for totally destroying what was a really good moment. Um, Out to eat with someone we haven't seen in a long time, but they get it. Next time I'll say, I'm not going today. Why don't you guys go? And that's what I did this morning with everybody going to the zoo. No, not doing it. I can tell already the heat is going to just piss me off, especially with the antibiotics in my system, and I'm not going to get into that. So here I am talking to you guys in this house, and it's 70 degrees in here, and I'm not mad. We're having a good time. Okay, so that's proactive management, right? Like I proactively managed not going to um, the zoo this morning because that would have just not been good. All right. So embracing the new normal. They threw this term around during COVID. This is the new normal. This is the new normal. Dude, that is old school. We were doing the new normal long before COVID ever existed. And the messed up thing about multiple sclerosis and chronic conditions like ALS and Alzheimer's, all those things with cognitive issues, a new normal is like daily. So that doesn't make it that normal, right? Like every single day, we're up against a different set of symptoms. Some may carry over from yesterday or last week, but some can pop up as brand new. And we don't know if we're chronically ill with freaking cancer or if we're just having another symptom or having a heart attack. Like earlier this year, I was hospitalized in the ER because I had intercostal muscle, that's a chest spasms, and it felt like a heart attack, and they hospitalized me. And that was like a new low where I thought to myself, well, wait a minute, where do I draw the line between what's just MS and what's really, really a serious condition that needs immediate emergency care? And it's becoming one of those areas where it's like, it's hard to tell, but not everything in my health criteria, and not everything in my health is going to be MS, especially at almost 50 years old. It could have been a heart condition, and I wouldn't have known. I can't write it off as MS. And so my new normal is basically don't write everything off as MS, be proactive in my management of MS, and also think about the bigger picture. Like, what's the harm in being hospitalized in something that you don't know what's really going on? Yes, it's expensive. Yes, it's inconvenient. Yes, they poked a ton of holes in me. And yes, it was kind of a mess, but it was the right thing to do. And I don't regret it. And I was being proactive about what it could have been a heart attack, but it wasn't. It was MS. So proactive management combined with the new normal. The new normal is I'm not going to just sit back and let crappy things happen to me. Like that's old me. And my new normal is not like everybody else's new normal. My new normal is kind of new every day, and I just have to learn from it. Okay, as far as navigating the challenges, I wrote that one down. And this rolls into a situation that's going to come up next week. And if you've been watching my channel, you know that I tried Ocrevus, it didn't work. You know that I tried Kesimpta, it didn't work. And next week, I am meeting with my neurologist to talk about other solutions. I have been off the drugs for almost 7 months now, and I have felt better than I have felt in years. Tons of energy. Um, yes, I'm symptomatic as hell. Like there's a lot of issues, but I don't know if they're any worse than they were before. I don't know if they're any less than they were before in terms of intensity or timing or any of that stuff. But next week, I have to face the reality that my neurologist may say something I don't want to hear, and that's you need to go back on another DMT. Because so far, the DMTs have completely drained my energy down to nothing. And I feel useless on those things. And I'm not alone. The people in some of my support groups say the same thing. They're like, I'm off, I've progressed, but I feel better than I did when I was on DMT. But they're a little bit older than I am. I'm going to have to make some very, very tough decisions here coming up. And I call that like one of the physical challenges. What if I don't do the DMTs and I end up getting another spinal lesion that paralyzes me? Like, that's a physical challenge, but it's not my physical challenge. It is now a bigger physical challenge to the people around me who that are willing to basically wipe my butt if I can't move my arms. And that's what I'm thinking about. Like, what is the long-term impact of me making a bad decision now? Or no decision, which in my opinion is worse than a bad decision. Like, no decision is not based on any kind of evidence. It's not based on any kind of data. It's not based on any kind of studies. It's just being lazy and irresponsible. I have got to make a decision that either A, I am going to go back on a DMT, or B, hell no, I'm not going back on a DMT. It is a Boolean value. Is one or zero, it's not middle of the road. And so that is something I'm contending with big time now. And that will affect my overall physical ability moving forward. And that is something over the last year I've been thinking a lot about. Like, and I've talked to everybody about it. And I have friends that are in the same boat. They've gone off their DMTs because of bad negative side effects, but they've progressed and they have some real issues. I don't have anyone that has gone off their DMTs in my group that's like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I went off 5 years ago and I'm good. Everybody has admitted to progressing in some way. Now, they may not show actual symptoms of it. They may have had just more progression on their MRI, um, but they have progressed. And so that weighs on my mind a lot. And I've got to think about that moving forward. So this past year was been a lot of like talking to you guys, getting your input, seeing how you're dealing with it. And that has also added a lot of value to my decision. Where am I going to go with it? I don't know. I am going to talk to my neurologist and we're going to figure it out. You will be there for the ride. We're going to figure this out together because I think a lot of us in the community are all facing the same issues. The DMTs are rough. The disease is rough, and it just doesn't seem like there's a win, but I don't know. We'll see. Okay. And that leads to the power of resilience. So basically, what I've learned in the last year is like we are a very resilient crew, and people call people with MS disabled, and we call ourselves disabled. And that's okay. You call yourself whatever you want. I like to think that I'm differently abled, and I don't like the disabled label. You know, it's like one of those bucket things where you just throw whatever people in it. And there are some people that are very disabled with this disease, and there are some people that are barely disabled with this disease. And then there are those of us that are kind of just in the middle, like we have our days and then we don't. But I think what we do share is we are incredibly resilient. And I don't know if we celebrate that enough. So this last year has shown me that through the support groups and through the people in this community here online, you guys, whether you know it or not, you guys are thriving. And I know a lot of you that have been recently diagnosed are thinking this is the end of the world. In the first 2 years, speaking from experience, feels like the end of the world. Everything is changing at lightning speed, and everything you thought was going to be turns out not. But that's just kind of life in general. I'm speaking as someone who's middle aged, and we roll with the punches. And if anything, I've learned a lot of things, but MS makes you insanely resilient. You don't recognize it probably, but you have no idea how strong this disease makes you. Like you are making decisions day to day how to just get through the day and how to make things work. And that is building a resilience that a lot of people, like 95% of the population, unless they have another chronic condition, just don't have that capacity. Like they don't understand that fight. And give yourself some credit because I know for a fact, like the resilience has given me a lot of confidence. Like I really feel like I have a leg up, especially when it comes to problem solving. Like I will work on a problem until there's nothing left in me, and I usually end up fixing it. It may not always be the right answer, but it will be an answer. And I know a lot of people that just throw up their hands and go, "Well, someone else will fix it," and they'll just walk away from it. And I'm like, Dude, I live with MS. Like, there is no problem like that. Oh. And I can figure out something else that's much easier and literally doesn't take feeling away from my legs. So we tend not to see big problems where other people do. And that is a form of resilience. Like, we simplify things in our minds. So again, pat on your back. Very proud of you. You're resilient. And that's what I love about this community. And I guess I've really dragged on for a long time here, but I just want to talk about this last year, what I've learned, things that have happened from hospitalizations to winning NASA competitions to just having a fantastic community, family, and building this channel. You guys are again fantastic. I just love this. So it's awesome. So I'm personally inviting you to subscribe below so you can join the community if you haven't, because it's not just about me, it's about everybody. And it's just a great place to be if you're living with MS and or if you're caregiving for somebody with MS. Like, they can find, let them know about the channel, but also um, caregivers, I think, find a good deal of value in this. And you will see more integration of my family, which is very much a caregiving role with MS here. And so you'll see how my wife handles assisting me and how my son handles assisting me, and even probably down the road, how my community helps assist me. You may have seen that in the firefighter episode I shot a couple weeks ago. So again, you're resilient. We have a chronic condition, but it doesn't have us. I'm Cliff. This is Life with MS. Thank you so much. Comment below if you have something to say. What have you learned over the last year that you think is on a positive note, or maybe a realization that you've had that was just like a smack in the face where it's like, whoa, I didn't realize that. Kind of like the resilience thing. Again, I'm Cliff. This is Life with MS. Love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.